warm welcome to our session today. Big thank you to everyone for joining us for this virtual roundtable that is hosted by ETEnergyWorld and Bharathi Solar. I will be your host for the afternoon, Devina Lasson, and I'm very delighted to moderate this insightful discussion on a topic that's really rapidly shaping the future of India's energy landscape, which is solar plus storage, the power backup solution of 2025. Now, as a brief backdrop here, as India races towards its target of 500 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity by 2030, solar energy alone definitely won't be enough. So, integrating it with reliable and scalable battery storage solutions is key to addressing power instability, especially in our rural and semi urban regions. So, today we are joined by industry leaders and experts who are playing a very critical role in driving this transformation. And through the session together, we'll explore what's powering the rise of solar plus storage, from policies to technology to economics and much more. And together, we'll uncover what lies ahead. So, on that note, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome a very esteemed panel of experts today. We have joining us Harshvardhan Govil, Chief Operating Officer, Adani Solar, Ishwarya Sankarlingam, Director, Bharti Solar, Vivek Srivastava, Consultant, PSP and Hydro, Torrent Power, former ED, NHPC Limited, and Arul Shanmugasundram, Executive Director, Operations at Ayana Renewable Power. So, to all of our panelists, a very good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Warm welcome to all of you. So let's kickstart the conversation. I will start with an opening question that is for the entire panel. Would love to get all your inputs given the diverse industries and organizations that we are here today representing. If I can request each panelist when you are speaking to unmute yourself, please. And the opening question here at this point is, at what moment, or was it perhaps a project in your career, when you first realized the truly transformative potential of combining solar with energy storage? So, this is an opening point for everyone. Harsh, maybe you would like to lead the opening remarks.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So, in fact, I can relate to what you said, this storage coming in as an important element of the power system of India. Because, see, in NHPC, we have been what is functioning as the renewable energy implementing agency. So, I was in charge of the program there. So, initially, we started with pure solar tenders only in the initial phase when we started in 2023. But later on, as the need of the what you say system came up and the customers, that is the discoms, they really wanted some kind of storage to come in because we see that daytime, even if we see the figures of yesterday or day before yesterday, daytime solar is participating around 22 to 23% of the total what you say peak of the load which is being catered by the system, and by the evening we see that it has dropped to zero. So that is where they wanted some kind of storage along with those offerings which we are making as an REIA. So we started to integrate initially solar, what do you say, storage and wind also. Storage was a smaller element, and wind was more. But now we are coming out with what do you say, tenders which are pure solar plus battery only, and we see that there is a lot of interest among the discoms to pick up such products as well as the developers who are offering better and better rates now. So that is how, and now that storage is totally integrated into the electricity plan. In NEP also we see that both battery as well as pumped hydro, they have got a substantial target till 2030. So that is how it came in.
Yep,
And it's here to stay.
absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Arun, let's come to you.
Hi. See, I think we all know the solar power is infirm, right? Of course, when it was in smaller quantities, it was not so difficult to sell it to the customer. The acceptance was easier, right? But as we go further and sorry, my light keeps. As we go further and further, I think what we realize is that infirm is a challenge for the grids and for renewable to be acceptable in the market. We need storage. We need at least to address the peak hour requirements, which is not during the solar hours, right? And my first realization, of course, while we were always visualizing storage as essential, we have not found it to be cost effective for a very long time, right? And I think our first experience in Ayana was with the Green Co pumped hydro storage. And I think the concept of a pumped hydro storage at such a large scale with such competitive numbers, I think was a game changer for storage in per se. And that's why we said, okay, hey, here is something which we can work with and make a viable 24 by 7 power supply, right? And that's how our interest started about 3 years ago, and we have obviously won a couple of projects for one large metal customer as well as to the Indian Railways of to do RTC. So I think the first trigger I would say of realization of this needed thing was when pumped hydro was available at a large scale, right? And of course, now having done that agreements and having locked the capacity with the pumped hydro provider, what we see now is the lithium battery prices crashing. Crashing is the significant drop, you could say, in the lithium battery prices. And I think that has opened up another avenue of storage. While one would argue it is still not to the same levels of a pumped hydro, but I think the rate of change in the last couple of years has made it almost competitive, and the advantage of co-locating such as service, right, I think is very increasingly attractive. So I see now the doors are open for storage in multiple fronts beyond pumped hydro to supply utility scale solar. And I think, as I said, the first trigger was that large the pumped hydro concept that Greenco put together and implemented it at a very competitive rates.
Thank you. Yeah, rapidly changing environment there. We're going to deep dive into a lot of this. Ishwarya, welcome. Would you like to give an opening comment?
Yes. So we are more than developers. We are also generators. So as we enjoy the best of the both worlds, we are also facing the struggles, and we also know about the both sides of that. So the one point where we realized was that um, we face challenges when it comes to allocation of energy for from non-peak hours, peak hours, and normal days. So this is where we faced it because solar generation, the time period is very limited, very restricted. So we faced a bit of a challenge there. But when our discom they introduced the 15-minute slot, so that is where the necessity of it hit home. And we not only had the necessity, but we then that is where we realized that um, we have an option of not just so we had an option of not just giving our client the freedom of using solar energy, but you can also give control over it. So that is when it hit us the most. So if you have to ask, this is what I can tell.
Wonderful, great. Thank you for that experience. I'll circle back now to Harsh. If your audio and video is functioning, then love to take your opening comment once again, please.
So what I was mentioning earlier is that there are two platforms on which we have been working here at Adani. One is the solar, another is the LDES, which is long duration energy storage. And while we have been working on LDES for a long time, almost 2 years, similar intervention has gone into the battery storage also for supporting the solar installations. And it all stems from the fact that you need to be versatile in terms of feeding large parks. We are planning for a huge 30 gigawatt single installation in India, and this will be the world's largest solar park. When you do all this, you definitely need to have a very smart energy storage system. And while we started on this journey with this Khavda Solar Park, it was deep and embedded that we have to go for this. And as we move ahead, the best systems have been becoming better and better with the smart connectivity. And as my colleague Priyanka was just mentioning, it is not just a need, it is an essential part of such big solar installations because they become otherwise unmanageable and they cannot be optimized. You cannot be literally talking about operating such huge parks without having a storage system in place. So it is not just a need that is felt today, it is an essential requirement to operate such huge installations of mammoth scale.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you all for sharing that. And Harsh, so on that note, I'll just pick up from what you're sharing. So, as a leading player in solar manufacturer, can you go a little bit deeper into explaining to us some of the latest innovations in solar power storage that Adani Solar is working on, and what can we hope to see in the coming months and coming years?
Yeah. So while I did mention about this 30 gigawatt solar park at Khavda, our plan for 2030 is actually 50 gigawatt, and we have already reached 15 as of now. Um, this is a part of our renewable development platform. We also have a fully integrated green hydrogen platform, and we are on our way to work for almost 1 million metric tons of green hydrogen, which will be backed by a complete manufacturing ecosystem, which means that we will have 10 gigawatt of solar manufacturing, which will be operational by middle of next year completely, and 5 gigawatt of wind generation, of which 50% is already in place and the remaining in progress. A complete electrolyzer manufacturing backed with in-house technology. So when you have all these things in place, it definitely means that you can cater to a long duration requirement with the green hydrogen, and also the best with the huge capacity of solar and wind manufacturing. I, I would like to mention here specifically that we make the world's highest capacity of windmills, which means a single one can go up to 5.2 megawatt per unit. And today, the technology in solar manufacturing has also been upgrading itself continuously. While we see almost 25.5 to 26% efficiency solar cells coming in, these are expected to go up to 32% plus, 32 being the minimum in the next 5 years. And then much beyond that, I mean, I really can't spell out the magnitude that will happen by 2035. So if that has to happen, this will mean that the density of the solar panels gets much bigger from a panel power of approximately 625 as an average that is available today. We will migrate to 800 as an average going in the 2030s, and almost 2 to 4 times of that going in 2035. So with all these in place, it is very important that we match this requirement with an equally high energy density pack and system level development, which can cater to a low requirement of space, and all this can happen with the larger cells. I believe the industry recognizes the fact that while China is leading all these things, it is also racing up this development through increasing the capacity of solar cell, of the battery cells from 300 amperes to 587 to 600 and going beyond like this. And this race, I mean, is so expedited that by next year, I mean, we are already at 300 ampere hours. Next year, we should be seeing almost double of this coming into place. So we are trying these smart measures of improving energy density, improving overall efficiency through fewer connectors, more capacity per rack, better cooling systems, and um, all of such measures in place. leave aside safety, because you need to create that as a standard. You can't compromise it. But the cooling system design and very high density pack systems is what is we are looking forward to. In parallel to LDES, which also has a very high demand in terms of safety and storage capacities. So this is what we plan to do by 2030, when we will set up a large scale BESS, and we will complete this first phase of installation uh, close to 12 to 24 months from now. And that's what it is going to be. Scalability is another improvement that we need to look forward. And this comes in from the fact that you can have racks and containers which uh, can carry any amount of capacity, considering the larger size of cells that are available and will be available in the near future. And we will be closely tracking and developing this technology in India, all in-house, right from electrolyzer to the cells also, and integrating them into packs to make really large size container racks, which could augment the need for all types of power that you could feed in and manage uh, on a large scale development like ours at Khabra.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, truly exciting innovations here on the horizon. Ishra, I'd like to come to you now. From your vantage point, of course, at Bharati Solar, when it comes to solar plus storage, what would you say are some of the key factors that you're observing amongst clients, CNI clients, as their priorities during their decision making? We could be looking at anything from cost saving, energy independence, ESG goals, or many more. So, what are some of these key factors?
As I'm dealing with mostly C&I clients and with my close interaction, what I've realized is when they are opting for or when they are thinking about deciding whether they wanted to go for a storage along with their solar plants, so it is not just one thing that drives this decision. So this is a very structured conversation we usually have with our clients. So there is not just one thing. So if I have to point out at all, so it has to be first and most obvious is the cost savings. So that is what they are looking for, the clients, because this is going to protect them from grid tariffs and sometimes grid outages, and this is also going to give them a little bit edge when it comes to their flattening their peak hour demand. So that is one important thing they're looking for, but that's not just one thing that comes when it actually makes the decision. So like you said, this energy efficiency is also another thing. This is very popular with industrial customers because they run their industries 24/7. So they work in shifts. So with some grid outages or non-peak hour things, this is something that they suffer from, and this, well, because they're choosing to go for storage also, so that is giving them not just a boost, but this is also giving an edge, a competitive edge to them, because they have storage, they have their power to control over what power they use at what slot. So that gives them a little bit of competitive edge. So that is one of the other things that the industrial users especially are looking for when they are making this decision. So others plays a little bit role, but as of now, because the storage is a very up and coming concept, I think these two, as of now, whatever I'm dealing with, so these two are the ones that is playing a very major role in their decision making.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that insight. And just as a follow up, what also would you say are some of the biggest gaps that you are seeing in the current regulatory or any of the financing frameworks that really need to be addressed in order to accelerate the mass adoption of solar plus storage in India? As you say, it's a very new and opening up space right now.
Yeah. Like you said, it is a very new concept and it is a lesser known concept, to be very precise. So there needs to be, as of now, whatever I think, there are almost three points which I feel like it is a major gap in this. So first one, there is no unified or even a localized rules and regulations that define the storage, like how they define other aspects of this solar power, in aspect of using it or generating it. They have a lot of structured regulations, but that has not been done when it comes to storage, not yet at least. So there is not a unified regulation structure for that. So that is the first gap that I think it is happening. And next one is the net metering. Net metering itself with C&I clients, it is getting caught up for they're just getting used to that. C&I clients are getting used to that net metering, and they are just still catching up. But the lack of regulations in that is confusing them a little bit more also, because they're not sure whether because they go for net metering for both savings and for earning a little bit more for supplying back to the grid. That is the reason that they go for net metering concept. So when there is no regulation in that, so they are uh, little bit of hesitant when it comes to go for storage in that, because they're not sure whether they will be compensated for the stored energy or not. So that kind of regulation has not been brought into the scenario yet. So that is one more thing that I think it is a gap. And the third thing is the traditional lenders, they are very now, as of now, they're very much comfortable with funding for the actual solar parks, solar plant and parks. They are okay because they look for PPAs, they look for IRRs. They have a structured pattern they're looking for when they are giving out funds. But storage is something that they don't understand yet, because there are no proper regulations or proper um, open knowledge about it. So it's a very up and coming, and they're very hesitant to fund for that. So that is actually becoming a very huge obstacle for C&I clients to opt for the storage. So if these three could be attended to, or because it is a very fast and upcoming concept, so the regulations that has to keep up with that kind of pace that this is going in. So I think if that could be brought in, and if the financial institutions are being properly informed or properly uh, given regulations on that, I think this would go even more faster than what it is going right now.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And yes, indeed, that's why these conversations are so important today in a space that is so new and upcoming. Vivek, love to come to you now. So, we'd like to understand from you, in your experience, how do you see that solar plus storage can be effectively integrated with the legacy systems, right? Legacy hydro and pump storage systems to overall build a much more flexible as well as a resilient grid.
Thank you, Devita. So, in fact, to say that traditionally those storage hydro plants were there, which used to have some kind of storage where you can store the water, then you can use it on demand. So those kinds of sites now in India, you will not find many sites where you can create huge reservoirs and store water. Well, mostly they require large tracts of land, and then that kind of topography is also required. So now we don't find such sites which can be further developed. So, but all those, what you say, hydro storage plants which have already been developed, they are already aiding to this, what you say, regulation of the peak power. They can, and they have got a very fast ramp up rates. They can be started at will. You can just turn on a hydro project, and it will start generating. And then you can increase the rate of, what you say, power supply also. But now those kinds of, what you say, power plants are very limited, and whatever capacity has been there, traditionally it is tied up with long-term PPA to the customers. So the flexibility now, what government has already focused that we come in with the pump storage plant, pump storage hydro plant. So lot of focus is there already. See, this year we have commissioned, Pinapuram has been commissioned by Greenco, as Mr. Arul said. That was the pioneer in the, what do you say, pump storage. 1200 megawatt they have come in. Tehri is, they were integrating a pump storage with their existing Tehri hydro, that 250 megawatt has been commissioned. Around 8,500 megawatt projects are in active construction. So they will come in and aid for the energy storage requirements. Then till 2030, it has been projected that we will need around 50 gigawatt of PSP also. For that, a lot of groundwork is going on. There are many developers who are, what do you say, exploring the sites. there is a long drawn process which goes on for development of PSP. Because see, you have to build a hydraulic structure where you have to store water. So a lot of regulations are there. Then you have to do a lot of what you say investigations also. So all that process they are actively going on, and definitely you see it. It gives you a much more flexibility than a BESS.
Yeah.
You can have a larger 6 hour storage also, and that is much more dependable. In terms of inertia, also you'll find that the PSP is more reliant than the BSS system. So definitely it has got a space, and that is a need, and work is going on. A lot of developers are taking interest. PPAs are also coming out, and those are being tied in at a very competitive rate. So we will see a lot of pump storage development in the near future till 2030.
Okay, great. Wonderful.
Right.
And, also on that note, what would you say are some of the big lessons or best practices that we can take from Hydro's regulatory and operational frameworks? Of course, as we've just been talking, there are a lot of challenges here today, still quite a nascent area as well. So, what are some of the best practices from Hydro's regulatory frameworks that could inform the large scale battery storage deployment here in India?
So as Ishwarya said that you have to come out with regulations which support the development of a particular what is a system. Hydro traditionally it has been a very old system. They have got set standards how you build the project, what are the technical standards. Then there are regulations related to what is a development, what kind of structures you are going to build. Environmental regulations are very well framed. So that regulatory environment which was there in hydro, traditionally that should come in for BSS also. And BSS like there'll be issues relating to disposal of the batteries once they exhaust their life. So those kinds of what is environmental regulations also they have to come in. So that overall, the industry as well as the investors as well as public at large, they should be what do you say assured that this is a system which is sustainable and environment friendly also. So first of all, that regulation is to be there, and then the support. Kind of support which is there to what to say appraise the projects, to integrate them into the systems, means granting connectivity. Now government is already coming in. What do you say? This IST's waiver has been given for the BSS which are co-located. So those kinds of what do you say policy supports have to come. VGF is also given 30 gigawatt. Another what do you say VGF which was available to the hydro projects that has come in for VSS also. First tranche that is already going on. Not many projects have been picked up in that VGF mode also. So definitely, as it goes with the power element, which is part of the grid, so those kind of things they can come in, and they can be emulated in BSS also.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Those set of best practices here. Arun, like to come to you now. So, as a utility scale player, what in your experience are some of the kind of the balancing that you have to do, balancing the trade offs between cost, efficiency, and of course, long term reliability when you are designing your solar plus storage projects?
Yeah, I think as Vivekji said, right. I think of course one of the things hydro is very robust and stable, right? So there's nothing to think about pumped hydro as a storage. I think the challenge is in the construction and environmental clearance, and once it is in place, it's a proven technology. The challenge with the pumped hydro is it is far, so it's not co-located. So we are reliant on government to provide us the transmission infrastructure to supply power and take power out. And I think the Indian government has very excellent regulations to support that. So to that extent, yes, the most robust technology of storage is pumped hydro. It's proven, the equipment is established, right? Now, when it comes to the BESS or the storage of LIFE, of course, today the viable technology is LIFE and not nothing else, right? That's the only option we have today, which is anywhere close to viability or to be in a position to compete with pumped hydro in terms of costs and efficiencies of round trip. So I think when you come to that, I think certainly there has been a significant drop in the lithium costs, lithium cell costs. I think primarily coming from China because of the huge capacities that have been developed, and we still don't know if it's viable to produce it at that cost and scale in India. I think we are seeing that same experience in solar cells also. We are not able to produce anywhere close to those same costs in India, right? But having said that, yes, those costs currently that we are able to get from China are viable. One interesting thing with the solar cell, or sorry, battery cells is the cost differences between a tier one and a tier two player is significant. It's unlike solar, you may have a half cent difference or a 1 cent difference. Here, there's almost 10 to 20% gap or even higher gap between a tier one and a tier two cell manufacturer, lithium battery cell manufacturer. And this is a bit of a learning, right? So, yes, cost wise, that looks very attractive, but we are also looking at an investment that has to last, depending on the number of sites, 12 to 20 years. And how will this product last, right? And why such a large gap is there between the tier 1 and the tier 2 or tier 3 Chinese players, right? I think and how do you validate that? I think that's something it's an unanswered question. I don't know the answer to it, so I hope nobody asks me that. What are you doing? But I don't know the answer to it. But certainly, when you're talking about cost of the solar cell battery, and if you see to tenders today, I think you're saying some prices, quite amazing prices, I would say lately. Even the NHPC tender was at 3.13 for a 4-hour storage, which we felt was 3.4, 3.5 was okay, but 3.13, especially with the ALCM, that is India made cells, right? I think is quite challenging. So I think that's one element I think people have to consider for some of these BESS tenders is what type of cell are you using, how do you ensure the longevity of these cells, and the price cannot be just driven by price and IRR, because you need to look at the long-term sustenance of this project as well as the product. As for the banks also, I think it's going to be important. The second is, of course, the in terms of the integration of these lithium batteries, the debate of DC coupling versus AC coupling, right? I think on paper, DC coupling looks quite attractive because you have your inverter capacity, that's the AC inverter capacity, goes down. You're reducing your energy losses in conversion, and you can directly go from battery to battery. But the challenge is the particular equipment for DC to DC conversion, and or a little bit more expensive, the PCUs and all that, right? So I think so is there going to be a product in the market which is going to make DC to DC more competitive vis-a-vis a AC coupled system, DC coupled, right? I think that's the other challenge. Yes, on paper DC coupled is good, but on reality, in practice, AC coupled is safer because the provenness of the technology as well as the cost of the power control and battery management systems in terms of establishment, right? So yes, so I think so obviously multiple considerations are there, but my only input to this is I think let us validate the cells we buy and make sure they will last for the life of the project, and we need to develop I think I believe there are some accelerated test mechanisms to evaluate them, and I think we need to pursue those technologies before. I'm not saying lower price means bad or higher price is good, but there may be diamonds in the rough kind of thing in the lower priced options, but they need to be searched for and identified and used.
Absolutely. No, great. Thank you for that. And just as a quick follow up, so what would you say are some of the emerging technologies? Of course, we cannot have any conversation about the future of cross section of sectors without talking about AI driven technology. So we're looking at AI driven grid analytics and so on. So many emerging technologies out there. What would you say is the one, maybe two that you're really betting on to enhance the solar plus storage performance?
See, I think the installer plus storage, the AI role may be limited in the sense that, yes, see, if I have a TOD based, time of the day based tariffs, right? And I know the tariffs, or project the tariffs or project the weather well, then I can potentially optimize the my what I store and what I send to the grid. Correct. I think that is something that can be done, and then maximize your revenue, because one, you have to remember that when you are putting energy into the battery, you're losing 20% of the revenue straight away, right? So the minimum realization you have to have is the energy cost divided by zero point 0.8 plus the cost of battery conversion. Of course, the battery conversion may be a fixed cost for you, so you don't need to worry about it. So whether you use it more or less, it may not matter so much, right? So I think that's something with the technology solar. But of course, when you have wind, solar, and storage, I think it gets a more complex. And I think to some degree, digital this whole digital solutions are almost equivalent to a battery. That is at a, when you look at it at a discom level, right? So if I can see, because I'm only, you should not just look at supply side management, you should also look at demand side management. I know there were a lot of efforts, Startup Power did it in Mumbai, and I think someone else has also attempted it. So I think the demand side management combined with the stores with the generation side management, right? And how you match them through software, because ultimately your solar power is a commodity, your wind power is a commodity, right? The battery is also a commodity now. So how do you use them smartly and intelligently so that you maximize your revenues, right? And also you schedule your demand and schedule your supply in such a way that it's effective, right? So to that extent, the digital solutions, or say that this whole algorithms, digital algorithms for demand management as well as supply management are have can have an equal impact of a battery, because you can reduce your storage requirements effectively to achieve the same end consumer needs.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. We've had already quite a wonderful session. I will put a request to the panelists now for just a quick, as we slowly start to wrap up, a quick word or a one liner, which to build on Arul's comment here. When we're looking ahead to 2030, what would you say is the most important lever? So we've spoken about technology, but there's policy or even just simply mindset shifts to make solar plus storage truly mainstream in India. So, what is that one shift, according to each of you, that really needs to happen? Harsh, if you're still on this call, let's hear from you.
So I think Arun did mention about many things that we need to look for the future, but to really make this technology mainstream, it is all about quality and cost, right? As we get into high energy density systems, and I believe this is. Okay, so what I was talking about quality and cost, since the average life of a battery cell is around 3,000 cycles, maybe plus than that, it will increase going forward. You cannot expect more than 4 to 5 years of a life coming out of a pack. So this plus the quality problems, if at all we start manufacturing in India, so all of these things they need to be considered. You know. In ample terms before we can talk these things to become mainstream. Till now, as like importing cells from China, importing panels from China, if we keep importing packs from China, this is not going to have longevity in India.
Sure.
So at least for the cell that we import, cell technology, I don't think so. Coming seems to be coming in fast into India, but at least pack assembly, which is one part of the this is going to be quite fast. And as I mentioned, quality and cost are going to govern this.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Ishwarya.
Yes, like I've mentioned before, the technology is fast approaching, whether we are doing it here or from we're importing. The technology is always here, so it's going to be readily available. It is readily available as of now also. So what I think should be done is to bring in strong policies on this.
Policy.
I have a very strong opinion on that, but because technologies is going to come, there are going to be players in that. But unless and until there is going to be proper rules and regulations on how, and to what extent we can use that, I think that if that is being formulated, I think 2030 is looking very good for this.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you. And Vivek, let's hear closing comment from you as well.
Yes, see, I being a hydro man, I'll what to say speak on PSP only. So what I say that PSP should not be taken as a competing what you say system to the BSS. Largely, when we see that people compare the prices which PSP will offer to the BSS, then so it should be taken as a complementing system. See, because as Arul has said that it is a robust technology, we got all indigenous what you say technology available for the manufacturing of the equipment which goes with the PSP. So we should take that to our advantage, except for a few what is a kind of machinery or materials which we may be dependent on import. Largely, it can be made in India to a large extent.
Sure.
So we should take it as a complementing system and not as a competing system. So because it is integrated into the target also of the government in the NEP, so we have to focus on that also as a
Absolutely.
system for energy storage. Right.
All right, thank you so much. And before we wrap up, as maybe our panelists can see, we've gotten some great questions in from the audience. There are a few comments that audience members are making, as well as a few questions. So, as we just have a few minutes left, let's take one or two of the questions. I will put it out to the panelists. I will pick up this question first. What are the implications of India achieving target of 50% power from clean sources installation wise? Are most of the future solar projects going to be only in hybrid mode? And what is the outlook on standalone solar projects or solar parks? These are big questions. Actually, most of our speakers, our audience have sent in two or three part questions, but I'll request any of the panelists to pick it up and answer it in brief, and we'll take one or two more questions, time permitting.
If I can answer this, so look, so pure solar, I think is going to be very difficult because there is excess power. You can see at the exchange rates during solar hours. So as a solar park can exist with solar plus BESS. I think existence of a solar park does not mean it has to be solar only. So I think yes, the battery storage will be critical as the renewable penetration grows, and if anything, if the government stops supporting more fossil, I think it will drive the adoption of solar plus storage in a faster way. And I think that's one step the government can believe in renewables and go for a solar plus storage push rather than investing in new fossil fuels.
Wonderful, excellent. Some really excellent questions here. I'll quickly try to take one or two more. All right, here's one. We have always heard of efficiencies of BESS dropping over the years, but when we talk about efficiency of cells, nobody has a firm answer for this. Any views from the panelists? If anyone would like to pick it up, or we
See,
can come back.
there is some projected degradation from the manufacturers, right? So, as I said, we have to go with them, but I think we don't have enough experience to validate or answer them today. And as I said, that it also depends on the source of your cells, and I think one can probably get some insights from the accelerated test data of the particular cells. It may
Okay,
not be purely technology dependent, it has to be manufacturer dependent.
sure. Okay.
I will
Thank
ditto
you.
that, Devina. I think what Arul just said. And there is very little information, and this is being governed completely by China. And the technology is driving itself towards low cost. So when all these things happen together, the efficiency of the cells only lie in the capacities that we can look forward to, as I just mentioned in my message earlier. And that's what it is as an information that is available today.
Thank you so much. And again, there is a whole list of great questions. Let's take one final one here. Okay, with the falling costs of BESS these days, what is the cost of BSS per megawatt for a 50 MWP plant? It's a very specific question we have here. I will also encourage all of our audience that if we can't answer your questions right now during the session, please do feel free to reach out via email. I'm sure we can reach out to our panelists too, because you have some really great questions, very specific ones here.
I can try to attempt at it. See, the issue is that because 1 megawatt hour is a very small system, right? So I don't know at that scale what the cost will be. So I've not sized one at that scale, right? But yes, for the larger systems, including cells, PCS, BMS, the whole complete system, you could see 120 $130 today. I think people say 100, but at least I'm not seeing it yet. So whereas at this, depending on the scale, obviously your costs will vary. So it's very difficult to answer at that scale whether it's going to be 180 or $200. But yes, yes, at the large scales, 120 130 is possible. Of course, 100 is the holy grail. A lot of people are making that assumption and bidding, and I hope we get there.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Thank you for that attempt there. Let's just quickly take one last question here on the list. Can solar plus storage truly mean RTC requirement going forward? If yes, then what must be done to achieve it?
I can answer this. I think solar plus storage itself is probably not going to be sufficient for RTC, because then the storage will be huge and the costs will be very high to get 24/7 power. So a solar plus wind plus storage, because the wind can reduce the storage significantly. A solar plus wind plus storage can be conceived as an effective round the clock solution, but pure solar plus storage, beyond addressing the peak hour duck curve, I think there solar plus storage can help. But for a true RTC, I think it has to be solar plus wind plus storage.
Thank you for that. All right. Once again, I will just put a comment to all of our audience here today. Thank you so much for being so participative. I know there's still a lot more questions, but in the interest of time, we will have to slowly come to a close. Please do send in your questions. We would be very happy to address them when we can, offline as well. So do send them in. And once again, thank you for your participation. A big thank you to all of our panelists. It's been such an insightful session. And as we can see, I think just a testament of how many questions our audience is sending in, how much everyone is listening in, of how important the subject is, and extremely important to have sessions like this to hear from industry experts like yourself. I'm sure by the end of the session today, we have left our viewers and the entire audience with some good steps forward on what it really means, what solar plus storage means, and the power backup solution of 2025 and beyond, what we can look forward to. So thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Devina.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.